Ty and I are having a legal wedding.
You and Ty are getting married.
Wait,
Ty and I are getting married.
Wait, these bombs just keep dropping.
Daniel calling himself Lisa's master was shocking enough on its own. But when you connect that one word to everything Lisa and her daughter revealed during the tell-all, it stops sounding like one strange comment made during an argument. It starts sounding like the clearest explanation of how this entire relationship worked. According to Lisa and Faith, Lisa went through a frightening medical emergency while feeling afraid to tell her own daughter what was happening. Lisa says she entered the hospital without Faith beside her, because she was worried about how Daniel would react. Daniel disputes parts of that story and says he was blocked, but then, in the same tell-all, he refuses to accept Lisa's breakup, calls himself her master, insists she still belongs to him through a traditional marriage, and confidently predicts she will come running back. So this is much bigger than another messy 90-day fiancé breakup. Was Daniel using love, religion, culture, and marriage to control Lisa from thousands of miles away? Was Lisa genuinely trapped? Or is she rewriting the relationship now that she has another man waiting in Nigeria? And why does Daniel sound so certain that no matter what Lisa says publicly, she will eventually return to him? Because here is the uncomfortable part. Lisa says she has found her voice. She says she is free. She says she does not have a master anymore. But she also admits that marrying Ty could help her stay away from Daniel. That does not sound like freedom. It sounds like Daniel may still be influencing Lisa's next marriage without even being part of it. And that is what makes this story so disturbing, so complicated, and honestly, so much more revealing than the simple Daniel is a scammer and Lisa finally woke up version we are seeing everywhere online. Before we get into the deeper relationship dynamics, we need to separate what was actually shown from what people are assuming. Because this tell-all included serious medical claims, a disputed traditional marriage, accusations of cheating, accusations of financial manipulation, and a whole lot of viewers diagnosing everybody from their couches. Lisa and Faith said Lisa experienced an ectopic pregnancy after becoming pregnant with Daniel's child. That was their statement on the program. We did not see medical records, so nobody watching from home can independently verify her individual diagnosis. At the same time, some viewers immediately decided that the story must be impossible because Lisa previously had a partial hysterectomy. That is not a responsible conclusion either. Pregnancy after a hysterectomy is extremely rare, but rare does not mean medically impossible. The details can depend on what type of procedure was performed and which reproductive organs remained. Ectopic pregnancies have been documented after hysterectomy, and they can be extremely dangerous. So I am not going to sit here and accuse Lisa of inventing a pregnancy based on a few minutes of edited television. I am also not going to present every detail she gave as independently confirmed. The honest position is that Lisa and Faith described a serious medical emergency. Daniel disputed how he responded to it, and the show did not give us enough evidence to settle every medical detail. But the most important relationship question is not whether random people online believe Lisa's medical history. The important question is why Lisa says she was too afraid of Daniel's reaction to involve her own daughter during a dangerous moment. Think about that. Daniel was in another country. He was not physically standing outside the hospital. He was not in the room preventing Faith from entering. According to Lisa's version, his control operated through fear, approval, and the expectation that she needed to obey him even when he was thousands of miles away. That kind of influence does not come from one argument. It develops over time. It happens when one partner begins believing that keeping the other person calm is more important than meeting their own needs. It happens when avoiding conflict becomes more important than seeking support. It happens when a person starts asking, "What will my partner say?" before asking, "What do I need right now?" Lisa says she went through the experience alone. Faith says she discovered what was happening after Lisa had already been hiding it. And according to their account, Daniel did not want Faith to know. If that is accurate, it is one of the biggest red flags we have seen in this relationship. Not because Daniel disliked Faith. Plenty of partners have difficult relationships with each other's families. The red flag is the alleged attempt to control who Lisa could tell about her own medical emergency. Isolation does not always look like somebody locking a door or physically removing a phone. Sometimes it looks like emotional punishment. Sometimes it looks like accusations of disloyalty. Sometimes it is the constant message that involving your family is a betrayal of the relationship. And eventually, the person being isolated may begin enforcing the isolation on themselves. Lisa did not need Daniel physically beside her to feel controlled by him. She had internalized the possible consequences of disobeying him. Now Daniel gives a different explanation. He says he was blocked and could not communicate properly. From his perspective, Lisa and Faith may have cut him out and then blamed him for not being present. That possibility deserves to be acknowledged, because Lisa has not always been completely transparent in this relationship. She hid major parts of her history from Daniel. She reportedly did not fully disclose all of her previous marriages and relationships before meeting him. Daniel has repeatedly suggested that he discovered important information after becoming emotionally invested. So when he claims Lisa and her family controlled what he knew, we cannot automatically dismiss every word he says. But even if Daniel was blocked during part of the medical crisis, that does not explain everything else. It does not explain why Lisa says she feared telling Faith. It does not explain Daniel's language about being her master. It does not explain why he treats Lisa's decision to end the relationship like a suggestion that he can simply reject. And it definitely does not explain why he seems to believe that a traditional ceremony gives him permanent authority over her choices. This is where the story becomes more complicated than one villain manipulating one innocent victim. Daniel and Lisa appear to have held different forms of power over each other. Daniel had emotional power. He had cultural knowledge that Lisa did not have. He could interpret rituals, traditions, and spiritual beliefs in ways Lisa could not independently evaluate. He knew how afraid she was of losing him, and based on her own words, he knew that she had difficulty staying away from him after conflict. Lisa had financial power, she had American residency, she had the potential ability to affect Daniel's immigration future. She controlled travel decisions and, to a significant degree, the financial support connected to the relationship. She also had the advantage of appearing on an American television program where the audience was already more likely to understand her perspective. That creates a relationship where both people may sincerely feel exploited. Lisa may feel Daniel used her for money, control, and a possible path to the United States. Daniel may feel Lisa used money and immigration promises to keep him emotionally invested while hiding major facts about her past. Both people can feel powerless while still exercising power over each other. That is one reason their arguments never seem to resolve anything. They are not only fighting over individual events, they are fighting over who gets to define the entire relationship. Lisa defines the story as a woman escaping a controlling man. Daniel defines the story as a husband being betrayed by a wife who refuses to respect their marriage. And because they cannot even agree on what their relationship legally or spiritually is, every later disagreement becomes almost impossible to settle. Daniel says they are traditionally married. Lisa initially appeared confused about what exactly happened during the ceremony. She believed there had been some kind of spiritual cleansing, while Daniel later described the event as a traditional wedding. That difference is not minor. If one person thinks they are attending a cleansing ritual and the other believes they are completing a marriage ceremony, then there is a serious problem with informed consent and basic communication. A marriage should not be something one participant discovers after it has supposedly happened. At the same time, we need to be careful about dismissing the ceremony simply because it did not look like an American courthouse wedding. Nigeria recognizes different forms of marriage, including customary marriage. Depending on the applicable tradition, a customary marriage may involve family participation, rights, gifts, or other requirements that do not resemble a Western registry ceremony. But the show did not provide enough verified information to determine whether Lisa and Daniel completed a legally valid customary marriage. We do not know whether all required elements were satisfied. We do not know whether Lisa knowingly consented to marriage. We do not know which specific legal or customary rules would apply. So when people say there was no paperwork, therefore there was no marriage, that may be too simplistic. But when Daniel says, "We performed this ceremony, therefore Lisa is mine forever," that is also unacceptable. Even if they were legally married, legal marriage does not create ownership. A spouse can end the romantic relationship. A legally recognized marriage may require a formal divorce, but it cannot force someone to continue loving, obeying, or living with another person. Daniel appears to combine the possible legal issue with a much more personal claim of possession. He does not simply say, we may need to resolve our marital status. He says she is his. He calls himself her master. He asks whether she can serve two masters. And that language is exactly why viewers reacted so strongly. Some fans feel Daniel accidentally revealed what he truly believes about women and relationships. Many viewers are saying that the master comment proves he never saw Lisa as an equal partner. A section of the audience believes this was not just poor wording or a cultural misunderstanding, but an open expression of control. Other viewers are more cautious. They argue that Daniel may have been using dramatic language during a heated confrontation, especially while speaking in a second language. They believe the comment was offensive, but not necessarily a complete psychological confession. I understand the desire to consider context. Reality television is edited. People speak badly when angry. Language differences can affect how a statement sounds. But context does not erase the statement, and the reason it matters is because it fits a larger pattern. Daniel refuses to accept the breakup. He insists that Lisa remains bound to him. Lisa says she feared his reaction during a medical crisis. Faith says Daniel did not want her involved. Lisa says she struggles to resist Daniel when he returns. Daniel predicts that Lisa will contact him again within minutes. When you put all of that together, the master comment does not feel random. It feels consistent with the way he approaches the relationship. Daniel seems to believe that his connection to Lisa gives him authority over her behavior, even after she withdraws consent from the relationship. That is a major emotional problem. A breakup does not require 2 yes votes. 2 people are required to continue a relationship, but only one person is required to end it. Daniel acts as though Lisa's breakup is invalid because he does not accept it. He treats her decision like part of an argument rather than a boundary. And to be fair, Lisa's own past behavior may have trained him to believe that. Daniel says she always changes her mind. He predicts she will return because, according to him, she has done it before. He appears to view the tell-all breakup as another dramatic stage in their cycle, not the final ending. That tells us something important. Whatever happened between these two off-camera, their relationship appears to have developed a pattern where declarations of separation did not necessarily mean permanent separation. They fight. They accuse each other. They threaten to leave. Then communication resumes. Over time, both people stop taking boundaries seriously. For Lisa, saying "I'm done" may become a way to express pain rather than a final decision. For Daniel, ignoring the breakup may feel justified because previous breakups did not last. That does not make his refusal acceptable. It explains why he feels so confident. And honestly, Daniel's confidence may be one of the most revealing parts of the entire tell-all. He is not begging Lisa to reconsider. He is not asking whether there is still hope. He is predicting her behavior like he has watched the same cycle many times. He believes he knows Lisa better than she knows herself. And the uncomfortable thing is that Lisa gives him a reason to believe that. She openly admits that she has trouble staying away from Daniel. She says marrying Ty could help with her Daniel problem. That is a devastating admission, because it undercuts her entire message about finding independence. Lisa says she found her truth. She says she found her voice. She says she will no longer allow someone to tell her who she can be. Those are powerful words. But then she reveals that her plan for maintaining that freedom is to legally commit herself to another man. That is not an internal boundary. It is an external obstacle. Instead of saying, "I will not return to Daniel because I have decided this relationship is unhealthy," Lisa is essentially saying, "I need a new marriage to make returning to Daniel more difficult." That means Daniel is still controlling the structure of her life. He may no longer be choosing her partner, but her fear of returning to him is helping determine how quickly she commits to the next one. Ty is being recruited into a relationship triangle whether he realizes it or not. He is not only Lisa's new boyfriend, he is being positioned as protection against Daniel. And that creates an enormous burden for a relationship that has not even been fully tested in person. What happens if Lisa and Ty have a serious argument? What happens if Ty disappoints her? What happens if moving to Nigeria becomes difficult? What happens if Daniel contacts her during a moment when she feels lonely, rejected, or uncertain? If Lisa's separation from Daniel depends on Ty being perfect, then Daniel still has a path back into her emotional life the moment Ty becomes human. That is why this story is not really over, just because Lisa introduced a new man. In some ways, the new relationship proves how unfinished the old relationship still is. Now, the competitor-style reaction to this situation is usually very simple. Daniel is a scammer who lost his green card opportunity, and Lisa immediately found another younger Nigerian man because she never learns. That version is clickable. It is also incomplete. There are legitimate reasons to question Daniel's motivations. Money has been a recurring issue in this relationship. Lisa's financial support was part of their story. Daniel had an obvious potential immigration benefit if the relationship led to life in the United States. His refusal to release Lisa after she withdraws emotionally can make viewers wonder whether he is fighting for love, money, status, or opportunity. Some fans feel he is only holding on to the traditional marriage claim because he sees his future slipping away. Many viewers are saying that his strongest emotional reactions appeared whenever the relationship's financial or immigration possibilities were threatened. But suspicion is not proof. We have not seen verified evidence establishing that Daniel planned the entire relationship as an immigration scam. We have not seen private financial records proving his complete motivation. We have seen behavior that creates questions. A fair analysis can say Daniel had financial and immigration incentives. A fair analysis can say his actions sometimes appear consistent with a person protecting those incentives. But saying he definitely never loved Lisa and only wanted a green card goes beyond the evidence. Human motivation is usually messier than that anyway. Daniel could have cared about Lisa and still cared about money. He could have felt genuine attachment and still valued immigration opportunities. He could believe they were truly married and still behave in controlling ways. People do not need to be cartoon villains to hurt each other. And Lisa does not need to be completely innocent for Daniel's behavior to be disturbing. Lisa concealed important information. She appears to have created expectations that may not have matched reality. She repeatedly returned to a relationship she now describes as deeply unhealthy. She may have used financial support as proof of love or as leverage during arguments. She also formed a close connection with Ty while her relationship with Daniel was still collapsing. Daniel calls that cheating. Lisa says it was a friendship until after she ended the relationship. Faith says she saw their messages and considered them normal conversations. But Daniel points to the fact that Lisa and Ty had seen each other naked. Lisa says that happened after the breakup. Daniel does not accept that a breakup occurred. So even their cheating argument depends on the larger disagreement about whether Lisa had the right to end the relationship. From Daniel's perspective, they were married and Lisa moved to another man. From Lisa's perspective, she ended a controlling relationship and later began a romance with a supportive friend. The exact timeline matters, but the emotional timeline may matter even more. Ty became Lisa's confidant while Daniel was still occupying the role of partner. Lisa turned to Ty during fights. She asked him to interpret Daniel's behavior. She depended on Ty for emotional support that she was not receiving from Daniel. Even if the conversations were not sexual at first, an emotional attachment was developing. That does not automatically make Lisa a cheater, but it does suggest that the transition between relationships was not as clean as she wants it to sound. Lisa did not spend time alone processing what happened. She moved directly from Daniel's emotional world into Ty's emotional world. That allows her to feel stronger without necessarily becoming stronger. There is a difference between developing independence and borrowing confidence from a new relationship. Lisa looks more confident at the tell-all, partly because she believes she has someone else. She can confront Daniel because Ty is waiting in the background. She can say she no longer needs Daniel because another man is meeting some of the same emotional needs. The danger is that Lisa may mistake replacement for healing. If the only reason you can leave one relationship is because another relationship has already begun, then the original dependency may still exist. It has simply changed targets. This is where Faith's role becomes incredibly important. Faith is the one person on that stage trying to slow everything down. She dislikes Daniel for understandable reasons. According to Faith, she saw her mother become isolated, financially involved, emotionally controlled, and medically vulnerable. She witnessed the consequences of the relationship in a way viewers never fully could. So when Faith approves of Ty more than Daniel, Lisa treats that approval like evidence that the new relationship is safe. But Lisa is selectively listening. Faith says she likes Ty. Lisa hears that. Faith says Lisa should take a break and delay the wedding. Lisa does not want to hear that. Lisa uses Faith's approval as validation while ignoring Faith's caution. That puts Faith in a terrible position. She is expected to evaluate her mother's relationships, but she does not have the power to stop her mother's decisions. She is expected to provide emotional support after the consequences arrive, but Lisa may exclude her while the decisions are being made. During the alleged medical emergency, Faith says she was initially kept away because of Daniel. Now, Lisa wants Faith to accompany her to Nigeria as a chaperone and safety system. Faith is treated like a daughter when Lisa wants independence, but like a parent when Lisa needs protection. That role reversal cannot continue forever without damaging their relationship. Faith may eventually stop seeing Daniel or Ty as the main problem and start recognizing that Lisa's repeated choices are the consistent factor. That is the part of this story Lisa seems least ready to face. Daniel may have behaved badly. He may have used control, spiritual fear, financial pressure, and possessive language. Ending that relationship could be one of the healthiest decisions Lisa makes. But Daniel did not create all of Lisa's patterns. He did not create her tendency to rush commitment. He did not create her difficulty being alone. He did not create her habit of placing romantic relationships above Faith's comfort. He did not create her willingness to ignore warning signs when she feels wanted. And unless Lisa confronts those patterns, removing Daniel will not automatically create a healthy future. This is why the curse discussion is so fascinating psychologically. Lisa believes a spiritual curse may have connected her to Daniel or contributed to her suffering. She says she plans to have the curse broken through a church, with prayer, cleansing, and blessing. I am not interested in mocking her spiritual beliefs. People across cultures believe in curses, blessings, spiritual bonds, and religious protection. Fear can be completely real even when viewers do not share the belief. But we should examine what the curse represents inside this relationship. The curse gives Lisa an external explanation for why she feels unable to escape Daniel. Instead of saying, "I am emotionally attached to a man who repeatedly hurts me," she can say, "A spiritual force is keeping us connected." Instead of examining why she returns after conflict, she can blame the bond created by the ritual. And instead of building boundaries through behavior, she can search for another ritual that removes the bond. That may provide emotional comfort, but it can also prevent deeper self-examination. Because what if the curse is broken and Lisa still wants to answer Daniel's messages? What if a church prays over her and she still feels pulled toward him? What if the real force keeping her connected is not supernatural, but emotional conditioning, loneliness, unresolved attachment, and the intensity of their conflict cycle? Daniel may also benefit from the curse narrative. If Lisa believes she is spiritually bound to him, his authority becomes larger than ordinary romantic influence. He is no longer just a boyfriend she can leave. He becomes part of a spiritual problem that requires special action to escape. That can create psychological leverage even if Daniel sincerely believes in the spiritual meaning himself. Sincerity and manipulation can exist at the same time. A person can genuinely believe a tradition is binding and still use that belief to pressure someone. A person can sincerely believe they are married and still express that marriage in controlling ways. The question is not whether Nigerian traditions are valid or whether spiritual beliefs deserve respect. They do. The question is whether Lisa understood what was happening, whether she freely agreed to it, and whether Daniel uses the ceremony to override her present decision. Culture deserves respect. Consent still matters. That is the line this relationship keeps crossing. Daniel repeatedly explains what Lisa supposedly agreed to. Lisa repeatedly appears uncertain about what she agreed to. That imbalance gave Daniel control over the meaning of their own relationship. He became the interpreter. He explained the ritual. He explained the curse. He explained the marriage. He explained why Lisa could not leave. And because Lisa did not have independent knowledge, she had to decide whether to trust him. That is an enormous amount of authority to give a partner who already benefits from the interpretation. Now let's talk about the fan reaction, because the audience is extremely divided, although one side is definitely louder. Many viewers are saying Daniel's master comment eliminated any sympathy they still had for him. For those fans, the statement confirms Lisa's description of control and makes his traditional marriage argument sound less like cultural commitment and more like ownership. Some fans feel Lisa's medical story explains behavior that previously looked exaggerated. They now believe her fear and submission were more genuine than they initially assumed. A section of the audience is skeptical of Lisa. They point to her history of hiding information, changing stories, and rushing into another Nigerian relationship. They believe she is presenting herself as empowered because she wants public support for Ty and wants to avoid responsibility for her role in the Daniel disaster. There are also viewers who question the ectopic pregnancy claim because of Lisa's medical history. Again, skepticism is understandable, but declaring a rare medical event impossible without evidence is irresponsible. Reality television has trained audiences to treat every emotional disclosure like a courtroom puzzle, which is how we end up with thousands of amateur surgeons in a Reddit thread. Some viewers are focused almost entirely on immigration. They believe Daniel is refusing to release Lisa because he was close to getting access to the United States. Others argue that Daniel seemed more interested in Lisa's financial support than in her well-being. That interpretation is possible, but not confirmed. Then there is a smaller section of the audience that sympathizes with Daniel. They believe Lisa deceived him about her past, emotionally connected with Ty before clearly ending the relationship, and publicly humiliated Daniel while presenting herself as the sole victim. Those viewers also argue that Daniel may sincerely believe the traditional ceremony created a marriage, making Lisa's new relationship feel like public betrayal. I think the fairest interpretation is that Daniel can be genuinely hurt and still be controlling. Lisa can be genuinely frightened and still be dishonest. Daniel can care about Lisa and still care about money or immigration. Lisa can want freedom and still be using Ty to avoid emotional independence. Two contradictory things can be true at the same time. That is usually where the most interesting reality television analysis lives. The audience wants one person to be completely right, because that makes the story emotionally easy. But Lisa and Daniel's relationship is not emotionally easy. It appears to be a bond built on mutual need, suspicion, leverage, fantasy, and repeated crisis. Lisa may have wanted the feeling of being intensely desired. Daniel gave her that. Daniel may have wanted financial stability, emotional attention, international opportunity, or all three. Lisa represented those things. Lisa could rescue Daniel materially. Daniel could rescue Lisa emotionally. That is a dangerous foundation, because each person becomes valuable for what they provide rather than for who they are. When the benefits feel threatened, the relationship becomes a battle. Daniel fears losing Lisa's support and the future connected to her. Lisa fears losing Daniel's attention and the identity she built around being chosen by him. This is why their fights become so extreme. They are not only fighting over love, they are fighting over the roles they play in each other's lives. And those roles are difficult to release. Daniel calling himself a master reveals his role clearly. He believes he leads, defines, and possesses the relationship. Lisa's behavior reveals her role too. She repeatedly submits, rebels, returns, and then looks for someone else to protect her from returning again. That is not equality. It is a cycle. The cycle likely begins with idealization. Daniel makes Lisa feel special, wanted, and important. Lisa provides attention, support, and promises of a shared future. Then suspicion appears. Lisa questions Daniel's motives, other women, money, or honesty. Daniel questions Lisa's loyalty, past, family involvement, or willingness to obey. The conflict becomes intense. One person threatens to end the relationship. The other person uses fear, affection, guilt, tradition, money, or promises to restore the bond. They reconcile. The reconciliation feels powerful because it follows emotional chaos. Then the same unresolved issues return. This kind of pattern can make a relationship feel deeper than it actually is. The intensity becomes confused with intimacy. Surviving another fight feels like proof of love. Returning after another betrayal feels like destiny. And every reconciliation makes the next breakup harder to trust. Daniel's confidence at the tell-all comes from that cycle. He believes Lisa's words are temporary because her words have been temporary before. Lisa's need to marry Ty quickly may also come from that cycle. She wants to create a barrier strong enough to stop herself from repeating the reconciliation stage. But marriage to Ty cannot substitute for Lisa understanding why the cycle was so addictive in the first place. If she does not understand that, she could reproduce the same dynamic with someone new, maybe not in the exact same form. Ty may never call himself her master. He may not use spiritual beliefs. He may communicate differently. But the underlying pattern could still return if Lisa rushes commitment, ignores contradictions, uses money to secure closeness, places the relationship above family concerns, and depends on romantic attention for stability. This is why changing partners does not automatically change outcomes. People carry their unresolved patterns into new relationships like emotional luggage. And unlike airline luggage, it always arrives, usually before they do. There is another important contradiction in Lisa's empowerment speech. She says she finally knows who she is. But almost every major plan she announces is still organized around a man. She is leaving Daniel for Ty. She is returning to Nigeria for Ty. She is considering marriage to Ty partly because it protects her from Daniel. She is breaking the curse so she can move forward romantically. Where is the period of Lisa's life that is not defined by a partner? Where is the part where she lives without needing a man to confirm her identity, safety, attractiveness, or future? This does not mean she must remain single forever as punishment for making mistakes. That would be ridiculous. It means that when somebody admits they cannot resist returning to a harmful relationship, immediately marrying somebody else is probably not the strongest evidence of recovery. Recovery would look like holding a boundary when lonely. It would look like refusing contact without needing Ty beside her. It would look like slowing down even when the new relationship feels exciting. It would look like listening to Faith when Faith says, "Take your time." It would look like understanding that a person can be supportive online and still be untested as a life partner. Most importantly, it would look like Lisa accepting responsibility for the decisions Daniel did not force her to make. That does not reduce Daniel's responsibility. There is a strange tendency in public conversation to believe that recognizing Lisa's role somehow excuses Daniel. It does not. Daniel is responsible for his possessive language. He is responsible for any pressure he placed on Lisa to exclude Faith. He is responsible for refusing to accept a clearly stated breakup. He is responsible for explaining the ceremony in a way Lisa apparently did not understand before participating. He is responsible for whatever financial or emotional manipulation he personally used. Lisa is responsible for repeatedly returning. She is responsible for hiding information. She is responsible for rushing into Ty. She is responsible for placing Faith in the middle. She is responsible for choosing whether she answers Daniel again. Responsibility is not a limited resource. There is enough for everybody in this relationship, which may be the only thing they have successfully shared. Now, what happens next? The most likely prediction is that Daniel continues contacting Lisa. His tell-all behavior makes it clear that he does not view the relationship as finished. He believes the traditional marriage gives him legitimacy, and he believes Lisa's history of returning gives him hope. He may contact her directly. He may contact her through friends or family. He may use the curse, the ceremony, memories, guilt, or practical legal questions to keep the conversation open. He may also frame Ty as temporary. Daniel does not need to convince Lisa that Ty is a bad person. He only needs to create doubt during a vulnerable moment. If Lisa and Ty fight, Daniel can present himself as the person who always understood her. If Lisa struggles in Nigeria, Daniel can remind her that she already has a husband there. If the marriage plan slows down, Daniel can treat the delay as proof that Lisa still belongs with him. And if Lisa answers even once, Daniel will probably interpret that as confirmation that he was right. That is why Lisa's future depends less on what Daniel does, and more on whether she can maintain a boundary without turning every contact into another emotional negotiation. I also predict that the traditional marriage issue will return. If Lisa seriously attempts to marry Ty, questions may arise about whether she needs to clarify or dissolve any recognized marriage to Daniel. The show may use that uncertainty as a future storyline. But viewers should not confuse television drama with a legal conclusion. Until qualified authorities examine the specific ceremony and applicable law, none of us can confidently declare Lisa either legally married or legally free. Daniel may use the uncertainty strategically. Ty may dismiss it too quickly. Lisa may avoid investigating because she does not want the answer to interfere with her plans. That would be a mistake. If there is any possibility the marriage was legally valid, Lisa needs actual legal advice, not Daniel's interpretation, Ty's interpretation, or a cast member shouting from a tell-all couch. Another likely conflict involves Faith. Faith may accompany Lisa to Nigeria because she wants her mother safe. But once there, she could become responsible for managing tension between Lisa, Ty, and possibly Daniel. Lisa may promise to avoid Daniel, then become tempted to seek closure. Daniel may appear or attempt contact. Ty may become frustrated that his new relationship is still emotionally centered on Lisa's previous partner. Faith may be forced to mediate yet another crisis she did not create. That could finally push Faith toward a stronger boundary with Lisa. And honestly, that might be necessary. Faith cannot spend her entire adult life preventing her mother from making dangerous romantic choices. She can offer advice. She can help in a genuine emergency. She can refuse to support a rushed marriage. But she cannot become Lisa's permanent chaperone, therapist, investigator, and emotional safety plan. At some point, Lisa has to experience the difference between being supported and being rescued. As for Daniel, his future storyline depends on whether he continues presenting himself as an abandoned husband or begins acknowledging his own behavior. Right now, he appears completely convinced that the problem is Lisa's disobedience and Ty's interference. He does not appear to understand why calling himself her master would confirm her concerns. He does not appear to understand that even a traditional wife can withdraw from a relationship. He does not appear to understand that emotional support is not ownership. Unless that changes, any future reconciliation would likely return to the same conflict. Lisa would demand freedom. Daniel would demand loyalty. Lisa would resist. Daniel would invoke marriage, culture, or history. Then, one of them would threaten to leave again. The strongest evidence that the relationship might truly end is not Lisa's new boyfriend. It would be Lisa changing how she responds to Daniel. Does she stop explaining herself? Does she stop trying to make him understand? Does she refuse to debate whether he owns her? Does she get independent legal information about the marriage? Does she keep Faith informed without making Faith responsible? Does she delay marriage to Ty because she recognizes that healing cannot be rushed? Those actions would tell us more than any empowerment speech. Words are easy at a tell-all. Boundaries are tested after the cameras stop. Daniel knows that. That is why he is so confident. He is betting against Lisa's ability to maintain the version of herself she presented on stage. And based on their history, it is not an irrational bet. That does not mean he will win. It means Lisa's real challenge has only started. The biggest unresolved question is whether Lisa has truly stopped believing that love must feel controlling, urgent, dramatic, and all-consuming. She says Ty is different because he is a boyfriend, not a master. That is a good starting point. But better than Daniel is an extremely low standard for choosing a husband. The real standard should be whether Ty respects her autonomy, whether they can handle conflict without threats, whether finances are transparent, whether Lisa can disagree without fear, whether Faith can remain a daughter instead of a crisis manager, and whether both people can slow down without interpreting caution as rejection. We do not know enough about Ty to answer those questions. We do know enough about Lisa to understand why the questions matter. Ultimately, Daniel's master comment was not the only problem exposed during this tell-all. It was the sentence that connected all the other problems. It connected Lisa's fear during the alleged medical emergency. It connected Daniel's refusal to accept the breakup. It connected the disputed marriage ceremony. It connected the curse. It connected Faith's exclusion. It connected Lisa's admission that she still struggles to resist him. And it revealed a relationship where love became mixed with authority, money, fear, obligation, and possession. Lisa deserves the right to leave that dynamic. But leaving Daniel physically or romantically is only the first step. She must also stop allowing him to define her decisions from a distance. If she rushes to marry Ty because Daniel still has emotional power over her, then Daniel remains present inside the new relationship. If she moves to Nigeria partly to prove that she is no longer afraid, then Daniel still influences the move. If she needs another man to prevent her from answering Daniel, then she has changed partners without fully reclaiming control. And Daniel needs to understand something equally basic. A ceremony does not make another human being your property. Financial support does not purchase lifelong loyalty. Past reconciliation does not invalidate a present breakup. And loving someone does not give you the right to call yourself their master. So now I want to know where you stand. Do you believe Daniel sincerely sees Lisa as his wife and is fighting for a marriage he thinks is real? Or do you believe the the curse, and the word master are all different tools he uses to keep emotional control over her. And the even bigger question, has Lisa truly escaped Daniel? Or is her rush to marry Ty proof that Daniel is still controlling the next chapter of her life?